Good morning, a very warm welcome back to Valkenburg for the men's under-23 UCI Cyclocross World Championships as we fly across the pits area and take a look at Valkenburg, where these championships are based over the 2 days of competition. A very big crowd now assembled to watch these two races today. Firstly, the men's under-23 race, and then later on this afternoon we bring you the men's elite race. Simon's been out and about around the course, taking a little bit of a look at how it's changed overnight, if it has. Simon, sun's out. The Europop's been playing for about 2 hours. How's the course?
Yeah, the course is pretty much the same as yesterday. We had a little bit of snow in the night, not a huge amount. That's all gone away now. It's about 1 degree. The sun is making it a little bit warmer. So any frozen areas are thawing nicely. The mud is as thick and as claggy as it was yesterday. I mean, just taking a look at the pictures of it there. I think we're going to need to see the first lap time, I think, from these under-23 men just to see exactly how different it is from yesterday. We saw it drying out a little bit yesterday afternoon for the elite women. They were significantly slower lap times than the under-23 women a few hours before. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting this morning just to see how fast the under-23 men can lap. And but yeah, generally it's exactly the same as yesterday. Same challenges. They haven't done any work on the course, so they don't fill the ruts in. They don't sand any sections. They don't take the tops off anything. You know, any of the ruts that are really, really deep, they've just left it as is, which is kind of unusual. They sometimes put crews out there working on the course, but they obviously had different idea, leave it natural. The sections that they'd separated yesterday for training, yeah, they're as muddy as the rest of it by now.
So everything is a mud fest for today. We'll see how it runs in this first race of the day. The riders are on the start line. They are just getting ready. We're about 2.5 minutes from the race start. This race much anticipated as a showdown between 3 main riders, but of course, as Simon's mentioned, it's unpredictable on this course. Yesterday we saw some fantastic racing, we saw mechanical problems, and we saw things change back and forward between riders. So it is not cut and dried as to who's going to win this one. It wasn't cut and dried in the women's race yesterday. And we saw some fantastic early racing. Here is Adam Tupelik, the silver medalist in 2016. Alongside him, Tisarts, who won Nome, who's on the front row of the grid, getting himself ready for racing. Alongside him, Gage Hecht of the United States of America, Pan American champion. He's also a very good road rider. Now all eyes are on this man, Thomas Pidcock. He was the junior world champion last year and he has won the World Cup. Joris Nieuwenhuis, the defending champion, riding for the Netherlands in front of his home crowd. His fan club are right in front of us. And Ellie Isabit, the rider who last year things didn't go his way, ended up 17th. Sieben Wouters of the Netherlands on the front row of the grid as well. And number 17, Joshua Dubau, who was 6th last year. He's had a good season. And Lucas Dubau is also there just behind him. The tape is across the road, and we're about to get things started. Ellie is a bit focused. He's been on this course since about 8:45. It's now 11:04. The heartbeat goes, the riders are off, and Simon, this is a massive charge. Of course, last week we saw a huge crash in the under-23 race, and it was caused by Tom Pidcock. And the riders are safely off the start. Pidcock not getting a good start. He is down in about 15th place as they go through the first bend.
Yeah, Pidcock pulled his foot out last week at the Hoogerheide World Cup final and caused that crash from a front row start. He's obviously a little bit down off his front row, top 8 position today as well. But this first section of the course, this is where, if there are going to be any flat tyres, this is where they are. People that were asking about it yesterday, it's this section in the woods. There's tree roots and there's little rocks just starting to come up as the mud's got a little bit deeper. Apart from this section in the woods, the puncture risk is pretty much zero. So if you do see any flat tyres, this is where they'll be. Those 2 little drops that we see off the start, again, they're coming into those so fast. And the second one is pretty much vertical with, again, a big ditch forming at the bottom of it and deep ruts. So it's going to take half a lap or so for this to settle down. Pidcock there in around about 8th or 9th, I think.
On the front then, Anton Benoist of France. Anton Benoist setting the tempo. Behind him is Joris Nieuwenhuis, who of course last year we saw him ride really strongly in the mud. He doesn't mind it at all, and in front of his home crowd as defending champion, these riders don't want to let Nieuwenhuis go away like this and get any sort of early lead, because he is very much up for this race today. Ellie is having a good start in 3rd place. Pidcock still quite a long way back. You can see him there with the yellow bike in the Great Britain colours, but he's got to work his way through the field. The crowd is pretty big today, so one of the Irish riders goes underneath the netting. But this French rider, Antoine Benoist, is now leading. One of the younger riders in the field, but he has certainly gone out with a very, very good start.
Just saw Sven Nys at the start waiting for Tom Pidcock to line up, and he was saying that he's never seen Pidcock this nervous. So nerves playing a part, I think, for this youngster, first year under 23, and he's kind of coming in at the bottom of a category age-wise, but as the hot favourite along with Elie Iserbyt. So he's a cool, calm-headed lad, but yeah, World Championships in the first year under 23, when you're the favourite, takes its toll. So the nerves are definitely going to play, but bike change for the first half lap from Pidcock.
Do you know what? I think he had a really, really slow bike change there, Simon, because he went into the pits ages ago and only just got his bike. I don't know if they expected him to go into the pits that quick.
Well, they'd have been ready for sure, because the mechanics, they're always ready on that first lap, because they don't know if anything's happened at the start, any issues, any crashes. If there's going to be crashes, it's that first half lap. So the mechanics for sure would have been ready. So
yeah, but very, very slow, and he is quite a long way back now, but he's working his way through the field. There is so much pressure on this rider's shoulders. It's not just the pressure of the British fans, but he is the hottest property in world cyclocross, and many say the hottest property in world cycling. Some of the conversations I've had about him over the last couple of weeks, there are so many World Tour teams who want him. He's signed for Team Wiggins, but there's still World Tour teams who think that he should go to them now, and they want to look after him. Another crash for this Irish rider. Hitting the deck, that's 2 already. And as you said yesterday, Simon, there will be a lot of crashes, and everyone will hit the deck at some point.
Yeah, everybody's going to fall off, you know. Yeah, for sure. And I think it's quite useful to see further down the field, just to see how good the guys at the front can cope with some of these sections that are obviously so challenging for those just a few places further back. So the quality of the riders at the front of these championships is phenomenal, and they, again, like any top sportsman, they make their particular thing, skill, look very easy. I can assure you it isn't.
It's not easy at all. 4 riders at the front, and they are Benoist, Nieuwenhuis of the Netherlands. There's our leader, Nieuwenhuis, wearing number 1 in the orange of the Netherlands. Behind him, Benoist, then Elie Iserbyt, who is the rider in the turquoise, and it's Sieben Wouters, who is in 4th place, the bronze medalist of last year, 4th in Namur in the World Cup. And Namur's given us a little bit of an indication of how riders might go today. Of course, form and everything has to be taken into account. Pidcock, once he gets into the race, though, the nerves will go, and he just has to ride his race, doesn't he? But he's not having a good start here. Pidcock having to run a lot in this section. Even last week when he had that big crash He worked his way back through the field and looked very, very strong, but he cannot let this sort of gap go. We're talking 20-odd seconds at this moment in time. And Nieuwenhuis sliding the bike round the corner, looking superb so far. This is a great start for the Dutch rider. And we talk about the nerves of Pidcock, but in front of your home crowd, as defending champion, there's a lot of nerves too. And these guys, we remember, are so young. To deal with this is hard.
It is, absolutely. We talked about it yesterday with the under-23 women, and there's no different between the women's race and the men's race. Obviously, you've got some younger women in that race because they include the junior category, so you've got 16, 17, 18-year-olds that you don't have in this race in the men. But absolutely, you know, Pidcock's 19 years old, and he's coming into a category that he's got another 3 years at if he decides to stick with it and not move into elite. So again, Isabit, Nieuwenhuis, they've got experience in this category for a couple of years now, and they've medalled at World Championships in it already. So for sure, home crowd, home turf adds to the nerves for the Dutch guys. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see if Pidcock can close this gap down a little bit. He just needs to settle down, I think. We saw him there just making little mistakes. We're kind of scooting along, trying to pull himself along the barriers at the top of the course just to get a better line into the rut. It didn't pay off for him. And it's those little issues that he's going to have, and he's going to have a lot of them. Everyone's sliding around on this, as we can see.
Yeah.
It's just how he deals with it. And he tends this year, he rides full on. You know, he crashes on barriers quite often. He crashes on corners every now and again, and it doesn't faze him too much in the World Cup races. No. World Championships is another level up in mental strength, and how he deals with that on this first lap. He knows he's not at the front. He knows he's got some work to do, and he just needs to keep calm. He's obviously in good shape. He showed that last week in Hoogerheim when he closed a huge gap after his crash at the start when he was last man away on the road, and closed it down to, what, 15 seconds of Isabit and finished second. So he's been past all these riders before, 7 days ago.
Yeah. As we see riders going into the pits yet again. Bike changes every half lap or every lap?
Well, it's going to be interesting to see. Those guys that just came through didn't change, I don't think, on that first half lap when we were watching Pidcock. So they've gone a full lap. They're in pit 2. It is sticky, though. It's and again, the pit, it's not an easy pit. It's an uphill pit. It's very sticky. It's in the pit lane as well. So
right.
It's not an easy decision to make, and I know there was some talk yesterday after the women's race about pit strategy and choosing which pit box you chose. There's some discussions about that. Again, it's too late now to change the box you change in by the nation, but it's all part of the strategy that gets figured out in the days before, during training, and watching the earlier races as well.
This moment in time, Pidcock is 30 seconds behind Joris Nieuwenhuis. And Elie Isabit is coming back to him, so he's only a few seconds behind. Pidcock has got a huge amount of work to do to get himself anywhere near a medal, never mind get to the front of the race. We're still talking 16 seconds to the bronze medal position at this moment in time. Oh, Isabit having a little bit of a slip as he made his way up those steep steps. And Nieuwenhuis is going to come through here with a pretty fast lap time. There's the little slip of Isabit. I think we're talking around about a 10-minute lap time for Joris Nieuwenhuis. This is the fastest lap we will have seen in any of the races so far as he makes his way up to the line. And Joris Nieuwenhuis is going to go through in a lap time. Bearing in mind you've got the little start bit as well, and the allowance for that means he's just done a 9:37 as the first lap.
So I'm pretty sure off that they'll give him a 5-lap race. Would make sense to get it close to the 50 minutes.
Let's see what happens. There's Pidcock in the background, and there wearing number 2 is Sieben Wouters, with the 2 French riders that are with him, Jan Grass and Antoine Benoist. Oh, the 2 riders who are in that little group, but it's certainly not necessarily all the riders we would have expected at the front. We don't have Adam Tupelik there yet. Thies Arts is not there. Yannick Peters. But they are inside the top 11 riders. Gage Hecht, for those of you who are fans of United States of America, is 13th right now. He's the best under-23 cyclocross rider in the United States of America. Those of you who want to send some questions at UCI_CX is where you can get hold of Simon and I. Hello to Evelyn, who's watching, and hello to Stephen Davis. And a few of the rest of you who have messaged us in. Mark Savory says, Simon, do you have to stay in your designated pit box? Can you move, or is it there for the whole weekend?
It's you stay in your pit box, whichever one you chose for the race. So you can change. You can have a different box per race. So when they do the call at the team managers meeting, they go through it race by race, depending on the nation ranking. As you see, Nieuwenhuis, I think, yeah.
Big crash for Nieuwenhuis. And has he got his rear gear intact? Hopefully all is okay. He's having to run a long time there. He's a bit slowly but surely working his way back. See what happens here as he went through that rut. Yeah, just lost it on that corner. No grip at all through that right-hander, that off-camber section. Nieuwenhuis now at the front, looking pretty urgent. He'll be happy with the way things are going so far, though. In terms of the defence of his title, he is not having too bad a day so far, as Isabit now goes to the front and starts to put the pressure on a little bit. These two riders, one going for the pits, one not, and Nieuwenhuis will go for the pits to just make sure that bike is okay.
This will give us a bit more of an indication of how much difference there is in time between taking a bike, going through the pit lane and staying on the course. And it is significant. It's a few seconds there.
Yep.
It's a slow pit lane, and Isabit's got, you know, a handful of seconds there, and that's the kind of thing that can make a difference for sure.
I don't know what he was doing there.
I think he was talking to his mechanics in the pit there. He's looking across the course. I think he's looking, I think he came out of that rut on that corner where he crashed, and I think he's either asking mechanics to reduce the tyre pressure or try a different tread on the front. Obviously sliding around a little bit on that first lap.
Yeah, just to see whether he can get a little bit more grip. So he's got to work his way back now to Isabit. He looks pretty calm. That little rut is not as claggy as it was yesterday at this moment. It's a little bit wetter in that section, but Isabit now is going on the attack. He's trying now to put Nieuwenhuis into some difficulty, make him chase back, make him make a few mistakes. And Isabit now, he wants to turn round what happened last year when he ended up so far down the field in 17th. And he certainly is putting Pidcock way, way down. 27 seconds now to Pidcock. Yeah,
Pidcock's taken 4 seconds now to the front riders in that half lap since the finish line through the pits where we get our second split. So he's chipping away at it, but he's on the back foot here. It's gonna be a big ask to get back to these two. I think 27 seconds is some gap to close at this level, but he's got the French in sight, which then puts him into in sight of the bronze medal. I think at the moment we've got Steven Wouters in third from the Netherlands, with the two French guys, Benoit and Grass, I think, in fourth and fifth.
There's a few comments on Twitter, I didn't see it, but maybe the ride, but in particular Dean Barnett and a couple of others saying that Pidcock pulled his foot out of his pedal again at the start.
Yeah, I missed that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, but interesting if he's done it 2 weekends in a row, but it's something obviously did happen. He went from a front row to back out of the top 8, which you wouldn't expect if everything was going right, so it would make sense.
So Eli Isabit is the rider on the front there, who is setting the tempo. What a great career he's had so far. Silver medalist in the Junior World Championships in 15, world champion in 2016 at under 23. 2 wins in the World Cup this year. just things didn't go his way last year, and Pidcock yet again on this little section. He's not enjoying this one little bit when he comes around that corner and he's running. But he seems now to be getting into his stride. He'll have given himself a talking to, I'm sure, and said, right, OK, let's calm down a little bit and let's just work your way back to the front. But we're so used to him riding so flat out that it's not possible on this course to do that, is it? He's got to just work his way through and keep the momentum, keep the motivation. But at this moment, it's Belgium and Elie Iserbyt who's setting the tempo as he looks around, and he's opening up some daylight. We're around about 8 seconds now, is that gap back to Joris Nieuwenhuis. And Iserbyt will be getting loads of motivation because you can't miss that bright yellow bike way over on the other side of the course. He'll be able to see exactly where Pidcock is. Sieben Wouters running. And I'm wondering whether he's got a big mechanical problem and is having to run his way to the pits. Looks that way. So it's a bit then downhill. Shoulders the bike again. He's been looking better and better, hasn't he, over the last few weeks?
He has, yeah. He's had a good season. You know, this big battle between him and Pidcock has really set the under-23 season on fire this year, and it's been Pidcock that's come out on top in the World Cups. Iserbyt's had the upper hand on a couple of the Belgian series races, but again, he's ridden more of them. Pidcock, I think he's done, what, 21, 22 races this season. Certainly Iserbyt's up into the 30s as far as race numbers go, so more racing. And again, that was a season plan from Pidcock to do that, and I think he wants to continue that. I think he likes to, right now, race less and have the breaks and be able to train and consistently kind of top up the training. It's very difficult when you race 35, 40 races in a season to actually fit training in, because all you're doing is recovering and then getting ready for the next race. So these riders tend to take a training camp break in kind of early December, sort of between a couple of the World Cups, and come back to try and get a little bit of the volume back in, and oh, he's having trouble there. Oops. Both of them are having trouble. Iserbyt having all sorts of problems with his gears there, and I think that's...
Oops, and Nieuwenhuis has also got a problem in the pits.
Oh, yeah. He's changed shoes.
Wow, OK.
All right, that's what he was talking to the pit crew about.
Well, they said that was Sieben Wouters on the thing, but it's not Sieben Wouters, is it? It's Nieuwenhuis, who's got a brand new right shoe. There he goes. So that's going to help all the riders behind, because they will have both lost some time there. This is the thing, Simon, isn't it? We're saying, you know, riders are a long way back, but everyone is going to have a problem of some description today, whether you slide off, whether you have mechanical, whether you have to change your shoe, what it might be. Everything's going to happen today.
The last time we saw anybody change a shoe was Lars van der Haar, I think, in Hoogerheide, maybe, World Cup.
Yeah.
I can't remember, yeah, but it's good that they're so prepared that they've got shoes in the pits. I think that's normal now, but again, it's just one of these other things to put on your list to take to the pits for the mechanics and to have ready as well. He's obviously communicated that on the previous passage through the pit that he's going to need his shoe, but...
There you go. They change everything if they have to. So shoe change for Joris Nieuwenhuis, the defending champion, which has lost him 17 seconds now. And now he's just going to have to recover and try and come back to Elie Iserbyt. So to give you a rundown of the top 8 riders, Iserbyt first, 17 seconds ahead of Nieuwenhuis. Sieben Wouters 24 seconds down in 3rd. Jan Grass in 4th at 27. Antoine Benoit's 5th, and he is at 32. Tissarts is 6th at 38. Tom Pidcock is now 7th at 40 seconds with Adam Tupelik right with him. And I haven't seen Tom Pidcock suffering like this in a race. He's got the shades off. You can see the face is telling that maybe this is a race that has put him really into hurt, because at this moment he is not riding with the same ease that he has done over the last few weeks.
Absolutely, body language there said everything with Pidcock to me. That just looked like somebody that's not taking time out of the front and is just having an uncomfortable day. And it's going to take some coming back to get back in the medal hunt, I think, there for Pidcock.
Yeah. This is the thing, isn't it? I mean, there's so much pressure on a rider who is that sort of age, but as you can see, he normally would just come out of that corner, he'd just sit in the saddle, he'd be hammering it the way he normally does. But he is having one of those days, and we're talking about a 19-year-old rider who has won the World Cup, who's dominated everything he's ridden. You can wake up in the morning and it just doesn't go to plan. You just don't feel it. And maybe, Simon, what you were saying, Sven Nys can read riders so well. He can read a situation, he can read a race so well. And maybe just that nerves, all that adrenaline, maybe didn't sleep last night, it's just all got to him.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on, you know, like you said, there's the pressure of coming into this, he's the favourite and the World Cup winner. There's a lot of expectation, and just managing that again. He's young, and it's a new experience. He went into the Junior World Championships last year as one of the favourites, but again, junior racing is a little bit more unpredictable, and he was one of a handful of people that could have won that race in the lead up to it. Obviously, that result spoke legions afterwards as the quality of the rider, and he kind of went on from that to medal at Road World Championships in the time trial, and again to dominate almost the Under-23 World Cup this winter.
Well, the thing is, at some point, as a young rider, there has to be a point where you realise that things can not go quite to plan, and so far, in terms of his career, everything has gone to plan. Everything has gone his way. Today is going to be we'll see whether he comes back. He's 48 seconds, 53 seconds back now. If he does come back, that's a big learn, but even though he'll come out of this race with a huge learning experience as to when things don't quite go your way.
He will, absolutely. Mario de Klerk there just giving Isabit some advice. Mario de Klerk, former three-time world champion in the elite and one of the team managers of Isabit's pro team.
Well, this rider from France, Jan Grass, is now coming back to the wheel of Joris Nieuwenhuis. He's only 4 seconds behind. He's in the bronze medal position. But the race situation right now, for those of you just joining us, Elie Isabit of Belgium is the leading rider. He's having a good day. Oops, he's not having a good day. Bit of a crash then. Isabit going well, but a little topple as he went round that off-camber section. Nieuwenhuis in the orange of the Netherlands is in second place, and Jan Grass is in third right now for France at 27 seconds. Steven Wouters is fourth, Antoine Benoist is fifth, Tiesarts is sixth, Tupelik now in seventh, and Pidcock now dropping away in eighth place at 54 seconds. Just had nowhere to go, did he? The bike just sliding into that rut. Not much you can do.
Yeah, just body weight on the wrong side of the bike for that rut. It's a very steep cambered corner, that one. It's, again, camera angles always flatten these things. It's very steep. But again, we've talked about it. Everyone's going to have these little offs, and it's coming back from them. And again, hopefully a fairly innocuous crash like that doesn't give you bike problems, because you've only got to get a shifter full of mud, and we saw that yesterday with Evie Richards in the Under-23 women's race. Shifter problems that meant she was stuck in a 36 sprocket for a best part of half a lap, and just a tumble in the mud can do that. It can bend derailleurs. It's
Oops.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right, though. Where the camera's placed, it looks flat here, and it's not flat by any stretch of the imagination. It's incredibly steep. So Elie Isabit is having a great day so far. He's going ahead of Joris Nieuwenhuis by 15 seconds. Nieuwenhuis concentrating hard, trudging his way through this mud. But France, with Jan Grass, not even mentioned as a possible medalist today. Same with Antoine Benoist, but the French seem to have got everything going for them today. Certainly, third and fourth place is not what we may have expected for the French today.
It's not. No, not at all. I think we were expecting, I think today we came into these two races expecting two battles of two men. I think we were expecting the Pidcock battle this morning and a Van Aert, Van der Poel battle this afternoon. And it's getting mixed up a little bit this morning, which is good to see. And again, the French always produce, usually juniors, under 23s in the men. There are always names that pop up. Don't tend to transfer that talent to the elite ranks very often, the French, but
no,
always have a good programme for the younger riders. Good series in France. The French Cup series are good courses. So the riders tend to ride together, but the elite, exceptions like obviously Francis Moret and odd ones or twos, depending on their pro commitments to the road and other disciplines, but the younger riders always spring a surprise at World Championships.
Yeah, and then quite often just disappear.
Tend to, yeah.
Well, hopefully we won't see that this time. I must say they're road riders. They always produce great performances as young riders in World Championships, and actually we're starting to see them come through now as riders who we're seeing in big pro teams are actually starting to ride and produce some great results. So hopefully that whole talent program that the French have had and how things are working is starting to pay big dividends now, as our leader reaches the top of the climb, and the Belgians are going to have a big party if this rider continues like this. After last night with Sanne Cant.
If you wanted a spectating space at the top of this run-up for today's races, you had to be there before 8:30 this morning.
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah, I was on the course, and there were already spectators waiting 2.5 hours before for the prime spot at the top of that run-up.
Wow. Yeah, there's a big crowd here for today's racing. The race situation then. Elie Iserbyt is the leader. Joris Nieuwenhuis of the Netherlands second. Jan Grass of France in third. In fourth is Antoine Benoist of France. Then Sieben Wouters of the Netherlands. Adam Tupelik in sixth place now for the Czech Republic. Then it's Thies Aerts of Belgium. Then Thomas Pidcock, who is now 1:19 back from the lead. A big surprise with Thomas Pidcock. Just nothing has gone his way today, and to me looks like a rider who is suffering, and it's maybe just one race too far in what has been a stunning season for the British youngster. Through the mud. Tyre pressures today similar to yesterday.
Yeah, no change. As low as you can get away with it, you just need all the grip you can get, as we can see. So it's the mud tyres with the tyre pressure that you can push the tyre down onto the rim. So that 14 to 16 psi, 1.1 bars, 1.2 bars, depending on the size. Obviously, someone like the Nieuwenhuis here is a few kilos heavier than Iserbyt. He's maybe got a psi or two more, but.
And what is the choice of the rims that the riders use? What sort of wheels? Because I think Nieuwenhuis might even have deeper section wheels in this bike.
Yeah, a lot of that's down to sponsors, rider preference, team issue, those kind of things, but they're all between, yeah, obviously there's some quite low ones around up to probably 40 mil, I would guess, deepest for a course like this.
Iserbyt now onto the steps. This is lap number 3 of what's going to be a 5-lap race. As he reaches the top of the steps now, he is opening up a big advantage. 20 seconds now for Elie Iserbyt on Joris Nieuwenhuis. Jan Grass now at 28 seconds, although that looks to be closing just a little bit more. Iserbyt over the ramp and looking very calm and collected as he makes his way round to complete lap number 3 of this under-23 UCI Cyclocross World Championship. Elie Iserbyt, nice and aero as he goes through, trying to get as low as he possibly can, crosses the line with a lap of 10:15 at that time. So he's slowed down by 6 seconds, but nothing significant for Elizabeth. He's got, at this moment in time, the second fastest lap time. The fastest lap was Joris Nieuwenhuis, was a 9:37 for the opening lap. And that maybe has hurt him a little bit, but he's still holding on to second place. He's now, what, 25 seconds behind. Jan Grass is the rider who's in third place, and he is in the hunt for the silver medal. But at this moment in time, Belgium are looking at a possible win here in this under-23 race. This is our fourth place rider, Adam Tupelik, who is now making his way through the field. And behind him, I don't even see Thomas Pidcock anywhere in sight. These are the three riders who are in the next places. It looks like another shoe problem for Sieben Wouters. Downhill then for Elizabeth. This rider, when I got here this morning, which was pretty early, Elizabeth was already on the course, and he had been round and already done laps, and it was 8:45. He obviously just decided he had to get out here and see this course as early as he possibly could.
Yes, you know, just with the weather we had last night, I'm sure they just a bit of ease of mind, really, just to see what's happening, what's changed. They probably wouldn't want to get on the course after the women's race yesterday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so early morning's the best time to check it out. Gives you a better idea of what you're letting yourself in for. Go back, get clean, and then sit on a trainer for the 30 minutes before the race start as your normal warm-up. But
clearly he's decided today that this is his championship. He's going to come out, get completely prepared, get ready, make sure everything works the way he wants it, and it's absolutely perfect for him. Elizabeth leading Joris Nieuwenhuis. Nieuwenhuis, the under-23 world champion in 2017. He's a bit now into the pits yet again. As a bike change, switches over as he makes his way up, runs all the way rather than thinking about getting on the bike. Just to give you some other ideas of riders, so Tupelik now at 51 seconds, Tissarts in 5th place, 106, Sieben Wouters at 108, then Benoist at 109, Pidcock now at 144. I don't think we've seen any race where Thomas Pidcock's lost anywhere near this amount of time. I don't think it's ever happened to him.
No, I don't think it has, no, and obviously, you know, his head's not where it needs to be, and he's obviously just wanting this to be over with, I think.
Yeah, he'll get to the end of this race, he'll work out what the problem was, and then he'll have a bit of a relax, and he'll get ready for the season coming up. So I think in terms of him coming back to the front, it's not going to happen. We're not going to see a resurgence of the British riders we have done previously, so it's all now about the riders at the front and where the medals go. It's a bit 25 seconds. So Nieuwenhuis is holding Elliot. He's still holding Elizabeth at 25 seconds. He hasn't lost any major time over the last lap or so. So certainly there's a chance that if anything happened to Elizabeth, Nieuwenhuis could come back. The 25 seconds is a significant gap. The question is whether Jan Grass can hold on to Nieuwenhuis and take the silver medal away from the defending champion. It's going to be an interesting run-in to the conclusion of today's race. He's so rutted in this section now. There's Nieuwenhuis. These two riders having a real battle now, Simon, to decide who's going to take the medal.
Yeah, they are. It's a good battle. I'm not quite sure how far Tupelik is behind these two. I think he's only, it's maybe 20 seconds, 18 seconds. Yeah, he's not in sight there.
Here we are in the pits.
by getting ready.
Here he goes. Still looking strong. He's such a good runner, though, isn't he? We used to remember he always, he's not going to be able to do it today because it's absolutely covered in mud, but he used to ride watching, keeping a really close eye on his watch all the time, looking at lap times, keeping an eye on maybe his heart rate. He used to do that a lot. Here is Thomas Pidcock. Oof, yeah, this is not his day. Everything has, everything's gone wrong. It's got to him now.
Yeah, there's some frustration there, isn't there? You can tell.
Yeah.
He's not a happy boy.
Normally cool, calm, collected, confident. Today, nothing like it. It's just been a bad day for Thomas Pidcock. Elizabeth then running away with this race. 29 seconds now as he laps one of the Australian riders. And that's a big lap to get lapped on, just the same yesterday. If you've never ridden in conditions like this, then you can lose huge amounts of time on just one lap of this circuit. Is a bit. The Belgian fans are here in massive numbers. And this is going to set things up, and it's going to be interesting then, Simon. We've seen here, we had the battle we thought was going to be Pidcock, Nieuwenhuis and Isabit, and we're expecting this afternoon to be Wout van Aert and Mathieu van der Poel. It just shows it doesn't always go to plan.
Not at all. No, anything can happen. There's still other riders out there that are just as motivated to try and get on the podium. And anybody can have a bad day as well. So Isabit right now exactly where he wants to be. And again, so much information going to be able to be passed to Wout van Aert for this afternoon from Isabit.
Yeah, it's going to be useful for Wout van Aert, isn't it? He's going to be able to find out what tyres Isabit used, what pressures,
and just how the course is riding, just line choices, things like that, and just have the confidence to talk to somebody that's just won the race. Again, not real significantly different to Nieuwenhuis talking to Van der Poel, but again, it's all about information and how you process it and how you use it. And there'll definitely be a meeting in the team area just for a couple of minutes after this race, after the podium ceremony. And again, things like tyres, tyre pressures, these guys have got that figured out themselves. They'll take confidence from what somebody else has used, but that's what they've spent the last 3 or 4 days working on. And again, it's not a hard decision for a course like this.
More about the lines that will get you a little bit of time on your opposition as Isabit goes out again after the pits.
Things like recovery as well. There's so few places to recover on this lap that if there's any good information about where you can just take a breath or regroup a little bit.
Judging by walking around a little bit, the only place you can is when you come off that ramp, because the rest of the time you're full on.
It is full on, absolutely full on.
Isabit being urged forward. He's got a great lead here from Joris Nieuwenhuis, and behind him is this French rider Jan Grass, who was second in Nome in the World Cup. Not a rider we've seen loads of this season, but he's been certainly on the podium of a World Cup, and he is hunting down a silver medal in this World Championship, which would delight the French fans. The British fans who were expecting to see another gold medal are looking pretty subdued outside the commentary box window right now. But the Dutch and the Belgians, their eyes glued to the giant screens, looking forward to finding out, can Isabit take this world title? A little bit of another slip, but he sprints his way up. He's got full of running today, isn't he? Those legs are good.
They are good, but you can still see how hard it is. A rider of his ability, the top of those steps, it's just, legs are screaming by the time you've done that. The run up on the dirt, a little dismount and just a few pedal revs to catch your breath before the 30 stairs. It's a really tough section for the end of the lap.
Certainly is. Jan Grass holding on to Nieuwenhuis. This is the battle for the silver medal. Nieuwenhuis gets to the top of the stairs. He seems to have a little bit more fight in him than Grass, but he is holding on. This is the end of lap number 4. Elizabeth going to cross the line again, and he is going to be in the lead. A 10:18 lap, so 3 seconds slower than the lap before, but he's not significantly slower. That first opening lap was supremely quick by Joris Nieuwenhuis, and since then it's around about 10:09 to 10:18. Elizabeth goes plunging down that little bank. Now he's on the uphill section, forcing that bike forward. This is the battle for silver between these two riders. 41 minutes of racing have gone by. This is going to be a very, very long race. Well over 50 minutes it's going to be by the end of lap number 5.
Yeah, which is spot on. 50-minute race, so all good from the timing point of view.
They've got their calculations right, but 50 minutes on this course is... Whew, you're going to feel this for a week afterwards. Sanne Kant yesterday said it was the hardest race of her career. Sliding his way around that corner. Elizabeth is thriving on this course. He's got this nailed. I guess Elizabeth's got a much lower centre of gravity. Does that play into his hands in this course?
Not significantly, no. It's the skill sets of the top riders are pretty much the same. Especially on the mud, it's not significantly different. Ice, maybe more of an advantage to be a little bit lower. Taller riders tended to not fare so well on the very icy, slippery conditions, but the alternate factor is long legs. For somebody with a high centre of gravity is a little bit more of an advantage in the running sections. So
right,
swings and roundabouts, I think.
Yeah. Quick question from Derek Woodworth. Do the riders take fluids or gels or rehydrate in the pits?
No, they don't. The only time they're allowed to do that is if the weather is significantly warm. I think it has to be over 20 degrees, I think. Then the commissaire will give a dispensation for riders to go into the pits. Actually, the regulation changed, and they're still not allowed to take a drink. They're allowed to take a bike with a bottle on it. So that's the only time you would see a rider actually drinking in a race. But in a 50-minute race, they don't need to rehydrate or top up glycogen levels, so no gels really necessary. They'll have one a few minutes before the start of the race, probably, but nothing during the race.
Quite often you see them on the start line just taking their last gel.
Yeah, that's the time for the last one.
These two riders still together. Nieuwenhuis looking to secure a medal. It's getting a little bit snowy outside. We saw some snow overnight, and we're getting bigger flakes of snow now falling. It's really cold here on this course as Elizabeth crosses his way around. He's decided to run this little section. It's much, much faster for him to do that. That's great racing there.
It is. That's smart. You know, that's the thing about changing your ideas of what's possible during the race. One lap you ride it, decide next lap it's not going to be as fast. Hop off and run it. And just having that flexibility and always looking for lines, always looking for the options.
Elizabeth off the bike again through the snow as we see Joris Nieuwenhuis starting to open up a tiny little gap on the Frenchman, who goes very, very close to the post there on the left-hand side, hugging in towards the netting section. Elizabeth's not got too far to go. About 5, maybe 6 minutes of effort to secure this world title. As he works his way through that little section, he's certainly got everything absolutely right today. He's able to hurt himself, he's able to ride strongly. The mud just flicking up all the time off those wheels. He's looking absolutely supreme. 30 seconds now is the lead for Ellie is a bit of Belgium, ahead of Joris Nieuwenhuis and Jan Grass, and behind them there's really no one coming back. Adam Tupelik now at 118, Antoine Benoist in 5th at 130, T-Sarts in 6th at 133, Sieben Wouters in 7th at 148, Gage Hecht of the United States of America at 245 in 8th place, just dropped down to 9th actually, and Jacob Dorangoni of Italy now in 10th place at 252.
Yeah, there's some big gaps in this race. To see somebody like Poirier, T-Sarts, sort of minute and a half down. We're looking at Pidcock now at over 3 minutes behind. Gage Hecht, 250 behind.
Incredible gaps.
Big gaps, yeah. It'd be good to see if we can pull some other nations' riders up as we go through the split times. Getting some questions about where.
Let's give you some other nations. So we've got Dan Tullett of Great Britain in 22nd, Kevin Kuhn of Switzerland at 23rd, and then further on down we have got Ben Turner of Great Britain 27th, Grant Elwood, United States of America 29th, Mario Schmidt of Switzerland 30th, and Spencer Petrov 32nd for United States of America. Nicholas Smith 40th for Australia. Nicholas Denitz of Canada 45th. And then hopefully that gives you a few rundowns of some different nations as we get towards the conclusion of this World Championship. Elizabeth looks across to see where everyone is. Back onto the bike. Remember, we have a big gap this afternoon for 3 hours between the end of this race and the start of the next race coming up, and that will be the men's elite race to finish off a great weekend of World Championships. And this is why cyclocross is so great, because the predictions you can make, the hours you can talk about who's going to win can be completely changed.
They can. It's going to be interesting to see in the next 3 or 4 hours what happens with this weather as well. If this snow continues, might just add a little bit more of a challenge to the top surface that's already pretty much as extreme as it can be for a cyclocross race.
Ellie is a bit laps David Conroy of Ireland. The Irish programme now starting to get some momentum with Andy Lay, who is putting together the programme over there, and it sounds like they might even get a dedicated cyclocross training area from what I'm reading, which would be very, very nice indeed.
It would, very encouraging, yep. No, they've done a good job. Andy's done a good job putting a squad together and trying to get to some smaller races and to get a team. I think they're represented in every discipline at this World Championships for the first time, which is great to see. And again, to see nations like Australia coming with more and more riders, only a few years after the first time we saw them. Again, we've even got somebody from Iceland, I think, here.
That's the right place, isn't it?
New nations popping up all the time. The actual total number of nations, I think we've got 24, 25 nations here.
Yeah.
It's about the maximum we've ever had as cyclocross World Championships.
Oh, it's wonderful to see. Yeah, the Australian team, Ben Walkenden, Nicholas Smith, Will Octenden and Declan Prosser. Japanese rider Jiri Oda also racing. So yeah, great to see the different nations taking part in these World Championships. Ellie Elizabeth is the rider who's at the front. 17th last year. He had one of those days that just didn't happen. But this year, he's turning that completely around. Up the hill. Catches the Japanese rider we were just talking about, Hijiri Oda. And you can hear the Belgian fans just urging on Ellie Elizabeth now to take this victory, to give Belgium the last 2 world titles in these championships we've seen. Sanne Cant last night was supreme in her victory. She put herself so into the red zone. Ellie Elizabeth will have been motivated by seeing Sanne Cant retain her title. He comes sprinting his way up what is an incredibly steep slope. It looks like Nieuwenhuis has got rid of Jan Grass for the first time. Grass just has to keep going. He's got about 40 seconds advantage on Adam Tupelik. Ellie Elizabeth now up this little section, looking around to see where everyone is. He reaches the steps for the final time. All little slide.
His legs have gone. You could see it on that run previously. He's empty. It's a good job. There's another lap to go, but he's timed it perfectly. He's got everything out in this race.
He has. Elizabeth has taken this race on. He has ridden a supreme race here in Valkenburg. He's looking around, don't worry. There is no one there. He's got daylight, he's got time in hand. He can wheelie all the way up this finishing straight if he wants to. He can get off the bike, he can celebrate. Elizabeth is the world champion. He looks around, he sits up, he gives Belgium their second world title here in Valkenburg. Elizabeth, world champion. Fantastic racing. Behind him then, Joris Nieuwenhuis has got rid of Jan Grass. Elizabeth is celebrating. Rainbow bands for Belgium. Joris Nieuwenhuis takes the silver. He had to change shoes. That might have cost him a little bit of time. He took the race on, second place, and a bronze medal for the Frenchman, Jan Grass. Bronze medal for France. A really emotional moment for that young man. Fantastic performance by him. Well, two of the top three we predicted. The third one may have given us his indication in Nome that he was going to get a medal with his performance there.
Yes, absolutely, and I think in Elizabeth's 17th place last year, we might be seeing a Pidcock repeat next year. I think Pidcock's obviously going to finish outside of the top 10 here, but it won't be long before he's thinking about this race next year.
The arrival of Adam Tupelik of the Czech Republic, 126 down in 4th place. The gaps in his under-23 race are huge. Heading up to the line now, Tiesarts. He says thank you to all the fans who've cheered him on this season. Around 144 down. Behind him, Antoine Benoist, who finishes in 6th place. These riders empty at the finish line. There is Elizabeth. Just recovering. The arrival of Sieben Wouters at the finish, through the snow. 7th place for Sieben Wouters of the Netherlands. The end of a tough season for these riders. They've been racing since, what, September on and off?
First weekend in September, yeah. And again, 5 more races for somebody like Elizabeth for the next 3 weekends.
This was the moment when Elizabeth decided to take the race on.
I think it was that gap he got when he didn't go into the pits and Nieuwenhuis went in and then got a handful of seconds. And then obviously with the problem with Nieuwenhuis with his shoe.
That was it. Race over.
Possible to get a few more seconds there. And then from there, there was no coming back for Nieuwenhuis.
No, that was the end of the race. Elizabeth celebrates. The under-23 world champion says he's #1. There is no question. Today he showed just how strong he is and what a great cyclocross rider he is.
Sven van Toorn out behind him, the new Belgian national coach, took over from Rudy de Bie.
Well done, Ellie. You're bringing back that title 2 years after Zolder. How do you feel?
Yeah, I can't believe it at this moment. I worked really hard for it, and in the race it was just like a dream. So I don't know what's happening.
You crossed the line with almost half a minute gap between you and Joris. How did you do that? How did you manage to be so consistent during that racing?
Yeah, I knew it was really hard. Joris took a really fast start, but I knew from the previous races that he was better in the beginning than at the end. So I just wanted to keep one tempo, and but at the end it was better to do it because it's really hard with all the running sections. So I'm very happy at this moment.
Tell us about the conditions, the weather conditions. Snow at the end, a bit more sticky today than compared to yesterday. How did you feel with the race and the turf?
Yeah, when I did the first lap this morning, it was very good for me. Yesterday it was a little bit too slippery to keep really a high, high wattage. So today it was really better to have a big gear and just pushing on the pedals, and that's really my kind of races.
Which sections were you feeling more comfortable? The wooden one, the off the camber, the last one?
The flat sections and the running sections. Joris was really good at the descent. I had a little crash in the descent, but then I just didn't take any risks at the end. So I'm really happy to just keep going, and I took some seconds every lap, and that was just how I planned it.
After Sané's title yesterday, it's a new title for Belgium. That's a great performance for the country.
Yeah, it's really great. Definitely with the new bonds coach. So Sven will be really happy. So and I'm happy, and my team is happy. So it's a good day today.
Congratulations, Eli. Thank you very much. Great job. Thank you.
Nice insight from Eli is a bit. Number one.
Yeah, interesting to hear a bit talking about the consistent lap times and for him just to keep that same tempo going. If you look at his laps, they are very consistent. I think got a 10:03, a 10:15, a 10:16, a 10:24. That first lap by Nieuwenhuis was a 9:37. It's
yeah.
He went out. He did go out fast, like Eli just mentioned, but he got his strategy right. He was able to push on the sections that suited him, but just having the confidence again to stick to that even tempoed lap strategy paid off for him.
Yeah, I mean, that opening lap was flat out.
It was flat out, and I think that, again, obviously we saw Pidcock having a problem at the start if he did pull his foot out, but then losing time because that first lap was so fast at the front. So again, it's kind of put him on the back foot in that first half lap. Obviously had a problem at the start, was losing time, couldn't come back because those guys were going so fast. And again, we saw Nieuwenhuis doing a lap that he was close to a minute slower at the end of the race than his opening lap. So that didn't help the Pidcock situation, I don't think.
Here's the results of the UCI Cyclocross World Championship for under-23 riders. Eli Iserbyt wins in 50 minutes 54. Joris Nieuwenhuis takes the silver. Jan Gras of France takes the bronze medal. There's the rundown of the top 10 riders. United States with Gage Hecht in 9th place. And we run through the top 20. And one of those days for the race favourite, the hot favourite, Tom Pidcock, finishes 15th, 3:57 down on the winner of today, Eli Iserbyt. Dan Tullett there, 20th place. And as we count down through the top 30, Kevin Kuhn of Switzerland there, 23rd. Grant Elwood, United States of America, in 29th place. Waiting now for the podium presentation.
I think for the British that are watching this, though, I think the three junior medalists from last year were all in the top 25 in their first year in a category that's given them an opportunity for the next 3 or 4 years to move through it. And I think that's so encouraging still to be first year under 23, top 25. I think Ben Turner, Dan Tullett, and obviously Tom Pidcock have got a great future in this category.
Yeah, and when you look at, you come to a World Championships and we go to the World Cups, a World Championship is significantly bigger. It's like going from a usual bike race to going on the road to the Tour de France. There are a massive amount of people. Huge stands, big build-up, lots of television, lots of interviews. It's totally different.
It is, and things like, you know, when you can train on the course, the amount of time you can be on the course, it's always different at a World Championships than it is at a World Cup. And things like here, you know, where the team area is in this event, it's a long way away from the actual course because of the space restrictions around the area, and it's all these things that are different, and you need to experience it. And I think we talked a little bit yesterday about the World Championship experience a young rider can get. Wherever they finish, it's invaluable because they learn so much that they can't learn even at a World Cup, which is still an experience in itself. So the more World Championships you can get under your belt before you want to perform, the better. Yeah.
Well, you've got to be able to deal with all of the pressure and everything. And Isabit last year, it wasn't his day. He was 17th last year, and this year he's turned it around. He takes the title, and that just shows the strength of character to be able to come back and to do that a year later. Isabit takes the gold, Nieuwenhuis takes the silver for the Netherlands. The Netherlands and Belgium now having a great championship, and Jan Grass gives France their first medal, takes the bronze medal there for France, 35 seconds down. Very good ride by him. Getting close now to the podium presentation. Don't forget we have the men's elite race later on. It's now just after 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and the men's race starts in pretty much 3 hours time, give or take a minute or so. There are more and more flags appearing as well, blocking the camera shots, which is great. So, Simon, having seen the under-23 race and seeing the unpredictability, what do you think now of the men's race?
Well, I think the only thing that wasn't predictable there was Pidcock's performance. I think the performance of Isabit, Nieuwenhuis, Tessart, the French were a surprise, but that's almost not a surprise in itself because they do come good at championships in the younger categories. The only surprise for me was Pidcock. I think we're going to see the usual suspects this afternoon. I think it's still going to be a battle between Van Aert and Van der Poel. The mind games have already started the last few days in the press between the two. Obviously, you've got both sets of media, Dutch and Belgian, just trying to put one over on the other. I saw yesterday that Van Aert taking the pressure off himself a little bit, saying he only thinks he's got a 25% of retaining the rainbow jersey. So, you know, he's kind of taking it off himself, and he's making Van der Poel the favourite, which I think is a fact. I think he is the outright favourite for this one. But it's still all to play for, and I think those two have been head and shoulders above the rest this year. I think that the rest have been fighting for the third podium spot, and you know, there's that group of 5 or 6 riders, the Toonarts, the Corne van Kessels, those kind of riders that have been consistently between 3rd and 8th in the races, that are just hoping that one of the two big names has a bad day in a Pidcock style maybe, and they can move through and cause a surprise. But I think right now we're looking at a battle between those two, and again, it's going to take a couple of laps to see it. And I think one thing that's interesting, you saw how empty Isabit was on that last lap of the last 2 run-ups. Yeah. And the elite men are going to have an extra lap on top of that, another 10 minutes on this course. Yeah. Isabit's been racing with the elite most of the year, apart from the separated under-23 World Cups. So he's used to racing between an hour and 10 minutes, and yeah, just another lap on this course. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt like crazy, yeah. Yeah. Well,
we'll wait and see what happens. We've got about 3 hours, just less than 3 hours now, until we bring you the men's elite race. These party tents are going to enjoy an incredible atmosphere for the next 2.5, 3 hours before this race gets underway. As we get ready now for the podium presentation. Well, Nieuwenhuis did everything he could do. He couldn't have done any more than try and go out, take the race to everybody, put everyone under pressure, and then just try and hold on. You can't help that he had little technical problems. Elizabeth just had a few less and managed to open up that gap, and then that was it, race over. Well, it's certainly given a big start to Sunday here at the World Championships. It will motivate Wout van Aert when he knows that his teammate has secured the rainbow jersey. The snow not coming to anything at this moment.
Not right now, which is good news, I think, mainly for the spectators. I don't think it'll make a huge difference to the course if it continued, but yeah, the sky's looking a little bit grey, but it's just a few flakes coming down.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Waiting to arrive on the podium then. The podium presentation of the Under-23 Men's UCI World Cyclocross Championship.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear cyclocross fans from all over the world, may we have your attention please for the official UCI award ceremony after the 2018 Cyclocross World Championships in the men's Under-23 category.
Dames en heren, graag uw aandacht voor de officiële huldigingsplechtigheid. Naar aanleiding van het wereldkampioenschap veldrijden bij de mannen onder de 23. Graag uw aandacht voor de ceremonie protocolaire.
In third place, the winner of the bronze medal representing France.
Op de derde plaats, winnaar van de bronzen medaille uit Frankrijk. Een geweldig applaus voor Jan Graaf.
Jan Graaf.
Jan Graaf of France takes the bronze medal.
By Mr. Harald Tiedemann-Hansen, member of the UCI Management Committee. Médaille de bronze pour la France, médaille de bronze pour Jan Graaf. Avec nos félicitations.
De medaille is uitgereikt door meneer Harald Tiedemann-Hansen, lid van het managementcomité van de UCI.
In second place, the winner of the silver medal, representing the Netherlands.
Op de tweede plaats, vandaag voor de zilveren medaille. Hij komt uit Nederland. Laat u horen voor Joris Nieuwenhuis.
Also the
Silver to Joris Nieuwenhuis.
Presented by Mr. Harald Tiedemann-Hansen, member of the UCI Management Committee. Dames en heren, de zilveren medaillewinnaar, Joris Nieuwenhuis. And then, last but not least, our new world champion, the winner of the gold medal representing Belgium.
Nieuwe wereldkampioen, winnaar van de gouden medaille, de regenboogtrui. Laat u horen voor Elie Iserbiet uit België.
Elie Iserbiet, world champion.
Out of the hands of Mr. Harald Tiedemann-Hansen, member of the UCI Management Committee.
De regenboogtrui en gouden medaille uitgereikt door Mr. Harald Tiedemann-Hansen, lid van het managementcomité van de UCI.
Tweede wereldwinnaar in deze categorie, gouden medaille. En de regenboogtrui inmiddels op de schouders. De man die het vandaag haalde, Elie Iserbiet.
Elie Iserbiet in the rainbow jersey.
Kisses and Flower Street.
De ploegen worden uitgereikt door Gert Koopmans, debuté van de provincie Limburg voor de nummer 3. Voor de bronzen medaillewinnaar. En laat u horen Frankrijk voor Jan Graaf. De derde plaats, we gaan de bloemen krijgen voor de nummer 2, voor Joris Nieuwhuis uit het Gelderse Zelm. Hele mooie tweede plaats. En Gert Koolmans, deputé van de provincie Limburg, gaat de bloemenrijker ook uiteraard uitreiken aan de nieuwe wereldkampioen 2018, Pavik Hoven. Laat u horen voor Eli Iserniet. Ladies
And now for the national anthem of Belgium.
Voor de national anthem of Belgium. Dames en heren, mag ik heel graag nu aandacht vragen voor het Belgisch volkslied, de Brabançon.
Well, the emotion of the moment gets to Ellie a bit. That meant an awful lot to him. Simon, great race, great champion.
Yeah, very much so. Very good race. Only missed one rider in that mix, but apart from that, it was a deserved winner, and I think it does mean a lot. He's already been world champion in this category, so you think that maybe you don't get a little bit blasé about it, but it certainly takes the edge off the pressure to win it again once you've done it. But I think that showed just the emotion on the podium there, that it does mean a hell of a lot to these guys. It's the pinnacle of the season, and the rainbow stripes are what everybody strives to achieve in the career. To do it twice in one category, I think Iserbyt's got a great future now when he moves up to elite next year.
Yeah,
one of the new, younger Belgian group that's replacing the likes of Klaas van Toornaert and Kevin Powels that are maybe coming towards the end of their time. Obviously, we saw Sven Nys retiring a couple of years ago, but this new breed, this new group, they're equally as talented, and I think the sport still needs, right now, it still needs the Belgian stars, because so much of the sport is rooted in Belgium that if they didn't have anybody, then suddenly the crowds go away and the television goes away, and at the moment that comprehensive coverage isn't available in too many other countries. So we do still need the Belgian superstars, and I think Iserbyt is one of those.
He certainly is. Well, join him with Wout van Aert and the other Belgian youngsters. What a great morning of racing. We'll leave you with the highlights. Eli Iserbyt has won the under-23 men's title. 3 hours will bring you the elite race. Bye for now.